Alright, welcome back, guys. I'm be doing round 2 right now and talking about chestnuts. If you're interested, I guess stick around. If you watched the last video, I was talking about my own chestnut trees I put in my backyard. If not, basically all I said was that I started my own about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Deer came around 2 years, I think. Kept cutting or eating the tips, and it's just stopped the growth for that whole year. This year I had a handful of nuts that I was able to actually eat, and the rest was not any good. Just because you need 2 nuts, 2 trees to grow in close proximity so that bees can go from one tree to the next to pollinate them. And I only had one shell or one little flower that's going to turn into a shell on one of the trees, and the other tree was, decently, what do you call it? Had flowers on it where I would have had probably good 10 pounds, maybe 15 pounds of nuts on it. But since I only got one flower on another tree, some bees came, or one bee maybe came, and then went to my big tree and hit maybe 5 or 6 other flowers, and I got, I don't know, say maybe 30 chestnuts out of it. But this coming up here, I should have quite a bit more, because most of my trees are anywhere between 10, 12 feet up to like 15 feet, so in the spring they'll start growing more. I would expect at least another 2 to 4 feet of growth, from the tip up. And in hopes of actually getting some chestnuts next year. Also, I don't believe I said in the last video, but I have some of these smaller ones I took and put them in the freezer, or not freezer, fridge, in some peat moss. Keeps them moist for the two months that you need to be in a cold, kind of like simulating a winter. Without drying out. If you leave these 2 months like in the open, they'll dry out and they'll get really hard in this. Like, again, mostly water, I would say. I think it's like high percentage, like 60-70% water. So if you leave them, they'll dry out. They'll be no good. You could grind them into a flour and then make things with them once they're dry. But if you try to, roast them, you won't be able to do that. You would be able to put them in water and boil them, which will kind of rehydrate them. They're still good that way. They're not the same as the roasted ones. Roasted ones are always going to be way better, at least for my taste and everybody else that I know. Here in America, since these are so expensive, we don't bother with boiling them because they're expensive. They're $5 a pound, all the way up to $7, $8, $9, $10 a pound. So I would definitely not boil them because the taste is different. It's more mushy, almost like almost the same as like mashed potatoes, almost. Maybe just a little bit thicker than that. And they don't have the smoky flavor from these outer shells burning, and these don't taste as good. But anyway, excuse me, I got a cold for my 3-year-old, so the voice is all jacked up. But I got, I don't know what I call it, maybe like 50 away. And what I'm gonna do with it is actually let them sit for 2 months, take them out, put them on top of soil somewhere in the basement, keep them warm, let it start growing. Springtime comes, I'm going to give they have clear tubes for growing like certain kind of trees, you know, probably 2-3 inch diameter, and you put it over the tree itself while it's still, you know, let's say a foot tall, and the tree will grow actually inside of it, and then it'll come to the top, and then it'll start going out, and you can take the tube off after it reaches a certain height. Might do that, or I might do a little fence that's at least 6 feet tall so the deer can eat them. And I'm going to take them somewhere in the woods, somewhere where, you know, there's a bunch of land where you can spread into. Obviously, I don't want to put it somewhere where there's a lot, like in a park where there's a lot of people going by, because if somebody sees the chestnut tree, I promise you, they will dig up that chestnut and be like, oh, this is going home with me. Instead of starting their own, or doing the little bit of research you need. It's not hard. Peat moss, throw them in there, get the peat moss moist. Keep it in the fridge for 2 months, take them out, put it on top of the soil, and that's it. Not that hard. But I've seen people go into people's yards. A friend of mine had 4 in his yard, and somebody, he has a mechanic shop, and the people obviously came by seeing that, and somebody came later at night and yanked him right out of the ground and took him home. It's like, it ain't that serious, but some of these Bosnians or certain Asian cultures, they also go crazy for these down south in Pennsylvania. Every time I went to go pick up chestnuts at these 2 locations that I know, one Carlisle, one in Harrisburg, there would be Chinese people bright and early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. They'll come out and start picking. You know, they obviously fall off the trees onto the ground and just come and pick them up. Oh, that could be worse. So, I said in the last video, you gotta put a slit on these, otherwise they will start exploding. This one didn't explode all the way because it still had a slit. When they heat up, because of the water, pretty much creates pressure inside of the shell, because it's completely sealed off. If you don't put a slit on them, they will explode, where they'll throw a bunch of these nuts all to the side. The inside of the nut will get demolished, almost like a fragment grenade when it goes off. And it's pretty loud. Almost not as loud as a gun, but like when it goes off, you'll be jumping. Because the skin is kind of hard, so like under pressure, pretty much it's steaming inside because of all the big water content that's inside of these. And when they go off, you're not gonna know what happened. You're gonna be jumping. Anyway, so they stole my friend's chestnuts. So for that reason, I would like to take it somewhere where people don't see it for the first few years at least. Let them grow. Once they get big, if people, you know, find them, once they actually start producing nuts, by then it'll be too late for them to pick it out of the ground, because it'll be like 4 or 5 years later. And trying to dig up a tree that size, you know, it's going to be 5 years, it's going to be 20 feet tall, give or take, and conditions. They're like fast draining soil. So if you have that, they will grow pretty fast. If you put them in swampy water or swampy soil, they're gonna die off. Also, if you get the American chestnuts, do not plant them next to any Chinese chestnuts because they have the blight, or they carry the blight. And Chinese ones are blight resistant. Americans are not. That's why they all died off. When some idiot brought some Chinese chestnuts to America and killed millions of trees in the process. So you can also get hybrids. Hybrids are nice because you get the seed or the nut from the American chestnut, but the tree itself is more of a Chinese version of the chestnut tree, which is resistant to the blight. So even if the blight comes by or whatever tries to be, the fungus tries to attack the tree, it won't do anything to the nut because it's the tree itself is a hybrid, which is that part that matters is a Chinese tree. But the nuts will be the really sweet, like these that I have here. So there's Chestnut Ridge. They sell chestnuts. They're expensive as hell. They also sell seeds. There's no difference. They might, maybe they do hand inspection to make sure the nut is, not a bad nut. Like there's bugs that attack these. They lay their eggs and they get little maggots inside of it if you don't spray the nuts or whatever. So some of them might have that, so they might hand inspect to see if there's any holes or anything burrowing through it. They might pick them up as fresh as they can, put them in the fridge, and then ship it to you in kind of something that's going to keep them moist but not too wet where they're going to cause a problem. But even at that point, they sell, I can't remember, it was like 20 nuts or something, or 10 nuts for like $50 or something insane like that. I can't remember exactly what. I see so many different people selling them like that, which is insane. You can just order chestnuts from anywhere. If they have that American or the hybrid or Chinese, whatever you're looking for, just order it from them. Get the nuts. Do the process of putting them in the fridge. Wait 2 months. Take them out. You're gonna have a tree. It's gonna grow. If it's from a hybrid farm, which most of these farms are, because if they plant American chestnuts and they have 100 trees or 500 trees, and somehow the blight attacks one tree, it's gonna jump to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and it's gonna wipe out the whole orchard. So unless they're grown Chinese version of chestnuts, which most people don't do because the taste is just not as good as the American ones. Or they have several versions of it. Kind of like a European version, which is like kind of like the American. They're sweet. Size is pretty comparable. I believe the Chinese ones are going to be bigger. And American are kind of like a smaller version of it. And the American ones are, like I said, they have a better sweet taste to it. But either way, you start them off from your normal batch. You know, you pay $5 a pound. If you get the smaller ones, they're usually cheaper if they're smaller versus bigger. You want the smaller ones anyway, because the bigger they are, the less sweet they are. The smallest, like this size, is the best you can go. I wouldn't go with these tiny ones, but like if they have sizes smaller than a quarter or maybe size of a nickel, between there are the best ones. Because like I said, anything that you eat, any kind of fruit, anything like that, if you eat them, whether they're organic, if they're tiny little, they got so much sugar in them. And you have these genetically modified plums or whatever you have, and then you eat it, it's like, yeah, you taste a little bit of sugar, but they are not as sweet. Similar concept with these, the bigger they are, the less sweet they are. And they're more pricey. I think they're more pricey for the bigger ones because people use them to grind them into a flour. They make things out of them. So mostly those are sold to like companies that actually bake things out of them and make flour and it's resell it. So, but for eating, this is what you want, the smaller ones. It's getting a bit cold. Let's start popping. Anyway, so yeah, I would like to start putting them back into the wild and having them grow. Because, like I said, the tree itself is a darn good tree to have. I mean, if you make anything out of a chestnut tree, if you make a table and you can see the grain, some of them got some crazy looking grains on it, where if you look up a chestnut tree table or something like that, you can see like some of the craziest tables out there. They last longer than pine. If you was to build a deck out of it or something like that, it would last way longer than any other tree pretty much that you can build out of. If I could plant them and hopefully start spreading them, it's going to take some time, you know. If I start now, coming up spring, it's going to be minimum 3 years before you're going to start getting fruit out of it. You could get it at 3 years, it could be a year 4, it could be year 5. But once they start, you might have squirrels taking them deeper into the woods, putting it into their little, you know, hiding spot. Maybe wind comes around, knocks it out of there, falls on the ground, falls under the leaves. Stays there over the winter. Springtime comes, germinates, and there you go. A tree starts growing, you know, 200-300 feet away, 500 feet, whatever it takes, you know what I mean. You could have birds picking it up or different animals taking it somewhere. Obviously, I would, if they actually started taking off, I would start even more places where I would take it and try to start this, because I see a lot of people starting their own orchard so they can sell, they can make money. I don't really see anybody starting and just taking it somewhere and planting it where it's going to take off and go into the woods and be available for anybody that, you know, finds it later down the road. Again, I do not want anybody to see it for the first few years till it starts producing nuts, because they might just take it, bring it home for themselves. So I would like to put them somewhere where nobody sees. And if it's, you know, 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road, and I got a bunch of spots where I got a bunch of trees grown, I would let people, certain people know, like, hey, if you're looking to get some chestnuts, instead of paying $5, $6, $7, $8 a pound, I know a spot where I planted a bunch of trees and it took off, and there's nuts. You just gotta go pick it up. And I guarantee you, I would have the whole Bosnian community going out there trying to pick up chestnuts. The problem is, if I told one person, nobody else would know about it. Just that person's family would know about it for the sole purpose so nobody else gets there before them. If they did tell somebody else, they wouldn't say anything to anybody else. It's just that kind of thing. Unless there was like so many trees out there, the people didn't care and they can't pick it all up. If I had 500 trees out there growing and a bunch of other new ones coming out of the ground or something like that, and you can pull out 1,000 pounds or 2,000 pounds of nuts out of there, then yeah, the word would spread and you'll see a bunch of people going out there picking it up. But it's like, hey, I'm going to pull out 300 pounds this year. Nobody would tell anybody. They might tell their like close family, like, hey, we're going to go pick up some chestnuts, this and this area, you want to go with me? And they would just say, kind of go with them and pick them up, and they're like, don't tell nobody else. But my goal is to try to get it into the woods, get it grown, and then to spread. I don't know how this is going to work out, but if you guys are around down the road, watching, coming back, you will see exactly what happens. Because, like I said, this coming up here is when I'm starting, and it's going to be a test pretty much to see if I'll be able to get it grown somewhere that's not, my yard where it's fenced in now, and being out where I can't see it every single day, or seeing it every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. It's obviously going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to try to keep it all updated here, and I'm going to try to record the whole thing. So if you guys are interested, hit that subscribe button and the notification. So if it does come something out of this, you guys will be right along with me. I'm going to try not to reveal the area where I'm planting it, obviously, at the beginning, but like I said, once it gets to a certain size and it can't be dug up and took into their yard and ordered by other people, I'm gonna share the location with everybody on here, so whoever watches this, if you're in the New York area, somewhere here where I am, you'll be able to hopefully one day come pick your own. So we'll see how that goes. Let's crank this temperature up a little bit, let it get burning a little bit. Yeah, just about done. Some of the smaller ones are done already. Maybe I could have had the temperature a little bit higher. But yeah, if you see how they look, this is done. So if you do get your own, get an idea of what it needs to kind of look like. The smaller ones obviously cook a little bit faster than the big ones. Big ones you gotta do smaller, lower temperature. Cook a little bit longer. The smaller ones you can kind of crank it up a little bit. If you have the temperature too high in the big ones, you'll burn the outside, but the inside won't be completely done. So, let me see this one, random one. Oh yeah. Crank them up, get some smoke on, burn the shell. They're the best when they have just a little bit of burnt on one side, get a little crunchy. You gotta be careful when it's like this. If you don't mix it, you're gonna burn them. It's the only thing, you gotta kind of keep it mixing right along, because otherwise you'll burn and cook one area of, bottom pan of that chestnut and get burnt and cooked, while the rest are not done. By the time you get the rest done, you might burn them completely if they're not usable. So, there we go. Yeah, that's smoking now. I'm gonna have to open the door. Crank it back up a smidge again. If you guys have any questions, just comment below. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. If you're looking to grow some, I can send you websites where you can get seeds from at a reasonable price. Different ones. I have a connection to California. They have these other weird ones. They wear that because these have two skins to them. They have the outer shell, then they have the inner shell. The inner shell is like this real thin, it's like kind of like almost like thin as paper, and they usually just surround the outside of the shell, or outside of the nut, should I say, not the shell. But with these California versions, they actually, the paper shell actually goes in between, right through the middle of the chestnut, and even if you cook them like this, the shell doesn't completely stay. Like with these, you can just peel it, and then the shell just sticks, and you got a clean one. With the California ones, you'll go right through the middle, and go all the way through like that. And it's like so hard to peel, and you have a bunch of them where you might have 2 or 3 different ones going through them. There's a good taste to them. They're different. There's a good taste to them as well. But I've never had one like that till I got the ones from California. Those are actually the cheapest ones. I don't know if those were actually the Chinese version, or if they're just like genetically modified so much to be like so huge they completely went the opposite of what it's supposed to be, and it's such a pain to actually peel them and eat them, because you can't just grab it and peel the skin off like you can with these. It's like after you peel the skin off, you still have the inner skin you gotta worry about. So I do not know what that is all about, why they're like that, or if you see some of these are done, kind of burnt, you can take them out so they don't completely go. Usually these smaller ones will be like way more done or way sooner done. Just take them out, put to the side while you're cooking the rest of them. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, you want to ask anything, how to do any of this, how to grow them, where to get things, how to water them, where to water them, things like that, like just like I said, just leave me a comment. I'll get back to you guys, let you know what you need to do to get them grown, or like I said, it's pretty simple. Just put them in the fridge for a bit, and 2 months ready to take them out. And the important part, you just gotta keep them moist, but not wet when they're like real, I guess, sitting in water, because they will just mold. If you get mold on them, they will be, if you get a lot of mold on them. If you get a little bit here and there, you'll be fine. But if they molded completely, you may not get a tree from that nut. So kind of just want it slightly moist. Once I usually just moist the pea moss first in a bucket or whatever. If you put too much water, you can add a little bit more pea moss to get it back to the levels where you need it to be. If it's not enough, add a little bit more water and so on. Once you're good, then you can put into a bucket, or depending on what you're doing, put a layer of pea moss, put a layer of chestnuts, put more pea moss, chestnuts, pea moss, and just keep doing that. And just keep it in the fridge, don't take it out. Because if they get warm to like 65 and above, I would say, that's when they think it's springtime and they might try to germinate. So if it's like too early, you might just ruin them, they'll just dry out. So you gotta wait like 2 months. Kind of like simulating the winter. You could be like, if you was to put them in, let's say when you get them, and you take them out right before spring, I think you'll be okay. So, but I kept mine, I believe it was just about 2 months, give or take on the days. I can actually look up exactly. I think I have it somewhere exactly how long it was. And let you know how long you actually got to do it for. So if you need the exact amount of days, let me know. And here we go. These are just done. They are nice burnt. Or you can just grab it, crack the shell. If you're looking for a nice yellow, you get a little bit of burnt sometime on them. If you get the coolness more burnt, they taste a little bit better if they're crunchy. Kind of like this. If you can get this, this is perfect. Alright, take care guys.